y'all, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, thanks for joining. My name is Simmer Misty, and today I am bringing you another build video for the 1900s for our Decades Legacy Challenge. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at our number 4 build for our 1900s decade. First and foremost, let me start by saying that I really appreciate each and every one of you, and that I am so glad that you come and you sit and you watch these builds. I generally turn on some music and let you guys just watch this process. Let me start by just letting you kind of know what's going on here. So this house is actually a house that I found on the internet, and I was trying to replicate said house, and I will show you a reference photo of what I found, and I'll put it up here so that you can take a look at it. But this house was a house that was built in 1908 in America, and it has this kind of like front porch, as you'll see, and this is what I'm currently doing right now, is just trying to build the front porch area. But generally, as I was saying, what I usually do is I just turn on some tunes and let my brain work, and I just go. And that is what I did. But I don't typically go back and do voiceovers. I am finding that I am getting a little bit more comfortable with doing some voiceovers. If that is what you guys like, let me know. And I can go in and do voiceovers. I don't really mind. I don't mind giving you guys some input on what my vision is and what I'm trying to do here. I am trying to, as you know, bring houses into our empty save file, so that basically what's going to happen is by the time we're done with this Decades Challenge, we're going to have a full save file, because we're going to have family homes for our families to live in, community lots for them to visit and go to do things fun and things like that. So that's kind of what we're doing as we go along. So currently right now I am building homes for our children to move into. I currently already have 3 1900 homes set up, and I got to thinking I don't necessarily want to build another 1900 home, so I went ahead and moved a little forward. So this one is a 1908 home, and the reason behind that was I thought to myself, you know, they're not really going to move out. Like, it's just now 1900. They're not moving out yet. They're still little. So I'm pushing it forward a little bit, and I'm building a little bit later on in the 1900 decade, so that, you know, it does give a little bit of a gap, and as we move along, we'll go a little bit later into the decade, then get into the 1910s. That way we do have a little bit of change of history and how houses change throughout time, showing and reflected in our saves. Now, you are going to see that Oasis Springs is getting full. I think I only have 1 or 2 more empty lots in this neighborhood, like in this, Oasis Springs as a whole. So we are going to have to move to the next town. So do let me know in the comments below which town you guys want us to go to next for our next decade. So 1890 and 1900s is here in Oasis Springs. Where do you guys want the latter part of 1910 and the 1920s to be? So let me know that in the comments below, and that's where we will start building the houses that our family is going to live in for that decade. And I will start building the houses there for that time period, and also putting down commercial lots and things of that nature, and getting our save ready for our family to be living in that area. So anyway, I do have now the porch and its little stairs and sidewalks all in place, and now I'm just going in and I'm putting up the walls. Now this is a 2-story home, and this home is a little bit bigger than the other homes that I have built, in the sense that it has more rooms in it. So it has 2 full baths, and it is a 3-bedroom home. so it is a little bit of a larger home. And it's not necessarily a better home, it's just a little bit of a larger home. It still has that L-shaped kind of shape to it, but it's just a little bit of a larger home. I, again, did not furnish this home completely. I put in the amenities, and I will be doing that with every single one of the houses. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I want our people that are moving into these houses to be able to actually afford the house when they're moving out of the parents' home and into the starter home. And then they can decorate how they want. All of our kids are going to have their own personalities. Their spouses are going to have their own personalities. And I don't want to decorate it not knowing who I'm moving into the home. And I do want you guys to kind of have a say in who moves into what home as well. So I don't want to decorate a house and be like, okay, I plan to move this person into this house. And then it not end up being that person that I move into that house, and the house is then decorated for that person, if that makes sense. So I'm leaving the houses completely empty. The only thing that I'm putting in are the bathrooms and the appliances for the kitchen. Everything else is completely empty. I'm doing the landscaping on the outside, and even that I'm leaving kind of minimal. I did do a little bit more landscaping on this one than I typically do. And that was just because I was like, okay, with this big wraparound kind of porch look, like it looked so bare, it needed something. And so I had to do some extra landscaping to kind of give it a little bit, like it just looked so bare. But other than that, I'm kind of just leaving it because I want the girls to put their own touches into the houses. I want them to make it their own. And so that's kind of what I'm going through for this. So you will notice the foundation is that white kind of pickety fence looking foundation. And when I get around to putting on the outer portion of the house, it is that kind of clapboard kind of siding, which was really popular back in that time frame. And so that is obviously what went on this one. And I just did it in a white. I did put a little bit different bushes in this house yard, just because I felt like everybody got palm trees, and I get that, you know, the palm trees is the thing, but I wanted something a little bit different. So I did put some little bushes that looked a little bit different. I put a big tree in the back with a swing, and I thought, you know, if they're going to have kids, they're going to want their kids to be able to play, and they're not going to be able to do that if they are, you know, constantly only having palm trees in their yards. So that's kind of where that kind of came in, is that thought process of like, we do need to make this a little bit more kid friendly as well. And now, as you can see, I'm just struggling with trying to get this roof to work with me because it wanted to be difficult and do some clipping, which, you know, that tends to happen sometimes, and that is neither here nor there. I think the roofing in The Sims 4 is one of those things that just kind of comes with time, and I have not, unfortunately, learned all the tips and tricks with that just quite yet. I am still learning all those roofing tricks. So I am by no means a master builder. I am still just a beginner, and I'm really not that great. So to be honest, I half the time don't know what I'm doing, and I just pretend like I do. So if you asked me if I was a builder, I would tell you, no, I'm not. I just pretend like I am, and I can halfway decent build, and I like to decorate things. I look at pictures and then I try to replicate them on my game. Just like I go on Google and I Google pictures of people and I try to replicate them in my game, because that's who I am. So, if you ask me, hey, can you make so-and-so? I'll be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll try. Because that's who I am. But yeah, as far as me just whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do go in and I'm can be like, oh, you know, I'm going to go into cast today and I'm just going to create a person. I do that all the time. But like, if you come to me and you're like, hey, can you make this person? And I'll be like, hold on, let me go see what they look like or whatever. And then I'll be like, I'll give it a shot. I'm up for the challenge. It may not work, but I'll totally give it a go. I may not do that person justice, and that person might come and be like, you actually thought that looked like me? But anyhow, I'm rambling. Okay, so now I'm just trying to get the little roof above the porch here. Like where the front door is, there's a little roof that just kind of goes on that one little like angled corner there. So I'm just putting that portion together and trying to get that to meet. And then once that is done, I will put some pillars up and Bob's your uncle. And I hope that you guys really enjoy watching these builds, and that the music is a little bit relaxing. So I do try to keep each build music kind of time period appropriate. So for the decades, you're going to notice that the music that I pick is very slow and relaxing and right? It's just time period appropriate. Whereas if I were to do a build for like my legacy, like the Willows, or even Not So Berry or something like that, the music's going to be completely different because it's a completely different series. Same with my cast videos. I try to make my music fit whatever it is that I'm doing. So some of my stuff will be upbeat, and it's because that series is upbeat, or it'll be dark because whatever that series is may be kind of dark at the time, or whatever the case is. But I do hope that the Decades series builds aren't putting you guys to sleep and that you are enjoying this. I know that these house styles are quite different from especially modern times. And I do really enjoy making modern builds. I really like living in modern builds. I like the modern stuff. But also, I mean, let's face it, I grew up in Tennessee. And these builds really speak to my soul because these are the kind of builds I grew up in. Like, these are what the houses look like back like, it just is. They look like this. These houses are what I know, because our houses look like this and the land looks like this, and like, I'm from the South, so this is familiar. This is like second nature. This is it just is what it is. Like, someone had made a comment, Punch in the comments kind of made a comment, oh, when you started putting the vines on the house, I was like, yes, that's all I know. Like, I grew up in I was born in Tennessee, but where I'm from, I lived like right on the line of the Tennessee-Georgia border, and so we had vines. They're called kutso, and where I grew up, like, literally that stuff grows like wildfire, and it would literally take over everything. And like, it'll grow in anything. Like, it'll take over everything, and that stuff would just grow crazy. It will grow up like the mountainsides, it grows up the hills, it grows up the trees, it grows up the houses. It was everywhere. And like, literally, it's all it's everywhere. So like, yeah, vines all over everything. So right, you build what you know. You build what you know. And so yeah, I as much as I've been to Louisiana and I know what the houses down there look like in the bayou and all those kind of things, I also understand that you know, it's like that way all the way from Tennessee all the way down to Louisiana. It's just, it is what it is. That's just the way it is, right? Like, the South is the South. I mean, we all talk a little bit different with each state. We all got our own little slangs and our own little differences, but if you're south of the Mason-Dixon line, then it is what it is. You know you're south when you're south. So I hope that this is portrayed in these builds, because that's kind of what I'm trying to go for when I bring these builds in. That's why each one is different, because each one does have a different personality. It has a different spirit to it. It has a different vibe. It has a different whatever. So this is where I'm actually going, and I am trying to do the landscaping now. I'm putting the last like final touches of the outdoors, right? Like I'm putting little benches here and a little bird feeder, and I'm gonna put out the laundry line. And so I did put a little bit of like outdoor things, and I did some landscaping. I went ahead and put a cow shed. So those kind of little things I did go ahead and put, because I think like those kind of structures and things like that would already be existing in a house. So I don't feel like it's something that a person would come in and need to like quote unquote decorate. But the inside, the only thing that was put was the amenities. So your stove, your oven, your sinks, your toilets, your tubs, right? Those things are amenities that are provided with the home. You won't see. I did put in a kitchen table just because I wanted to see how big of an area, like if I had a room for a kitchen table. So there is a kitchen table in this build, whereas the others don't have one. So the kitchen table, the dining area in this house is big enough to hold a table that seats 8, which is great because this is a 3-bedroom home. So I wanted to make sure that this house was large enough to hold 8, and it is. That said, that's it. Like there are no beds, there's no couches, there's no, right? And I also, with this house, instead of going and putting a different wallpaper in each room like I did with the others, it's the same wallpaper throughout the entire house. So I didn't go through and be like, oh, I want this one to be here, this one. No, everything's exactly the same throughout. So it was almost like whoever built this one was like finally realizing like we could save money if we just did the same thing throughout, right? I think in the maybe earlier parts of like the 1900s when wallpaper first came out, people probably, especially in like maybe not the poorer families, but the families that had like maybe a little bit more money, because wallpaper was so new, they were probably so excited over that they probably did buy a whole bunch of different types and colors and patterns and all of these kind of things, and they probably kind of went crazy with that. I could see that being a thing, especially like I said, the families with more money. They probably had a different pattern for each room, and like I could see that being a thing. But then later on, as the newness and the novelty of it wore off, I think people would probably be like, why in the God's green earth would we have like yellow butterflies in this room and purple dragons in this room? Like, honestly, like why would we do that? So then people just started going uniform throughout the house, and you see that today as well, right? Like most houses go all in one neutral base, and then people go in and they're like, ugh, why is this house like beige? I have one entirely beige house, right? And then you see women go in and go, okay, let's put some color into this, or whatever the case is. Because it just sells better if everything is uniform and one, and then women go in and go, ugh, why is this all so just neutral? Or why is this all just so boring? We need a little bit of life in here, or whatever the case is. So that being said, this house is like that. It is just one wallpaper throughout, and then there's the same tile in both bathrooms. I didn't go crazy with it because I just didn't feel like I needed to do that. Okay, and so now we are just moving right along, and it's time for us to go ahead and get the landscaping done. So I am just trying to pick out the perfect plants for the area, and as we know, we are in Oasis Springs, so everything does need to be very deserty. I try really, really hard to just stick with like the cacti and the aloe succulent type plants, because I don't want to do too much that is gonna feel like it's out of place and really stick out like a sore thumb. So I do try to stick with a lot of things from like the scientist pack and maybe even some of the wilderness pack stuff. And even if it's really, really large, then I'm just sizing it down. and just kind of merging those things together, and then put some dirt under it. I might have actually forgot to put some dirt under it, but if I did, I'll just go back later and I can do that. And then if I just throw some of those things together. And then over on this side of the trash can here, I do go ahead and put some like grass, I think, on this side, like some wild grass kind of stuff. And just to fill up some space here. Oh yeah, and some of those like little willow wisps or whatever they are. And that just kind of fills that up. And then I love this little like wagon wheel piece that I put like propped up against the stairs here. I think it's a really nice touch, and it's very time appropriate here that you know, we have that. I'm just putting a little bit of flowers over here in this area because I really like the fact that, you know, even though it is the desert, I mean, if you look around the neighborhood, there are some flowers in the area, and so I do want them to be a little bit of flowers because, I mean, they're pretty. Who doesn't like flowers? And then along the other side of the house here, just under the stairs and things like that, I just want to cover up like those holes in the stairs. So I do put flowers all along this other area because, again, like I said, I don't want it to be bare all along this area here. Like, I don't go completely around the house with the flowers, but I do go along the side here with the stairs and things like that. And then I just throw some vines on the house so it just looks like, you know, the South. I just can't help it, okay? I just can't help it. There has to be just a little bit of vines on the house. There has to be. It just wouldn't be the South if there wasn't, okay? And then once we get this landscaping done out here and we finish up with all of these flowers out here, then we will go ahead and go in, and you'll see we'll go ahead and start erecting the walls in the house and figuring out which rooms are going to be where and putting the stairs in. And then I start going ahead and figuring out the wallpaper and the tiling for the bathroom and putting in the bathroom amenities as well as the kitchen amenities so that we can finish up the house here and go ahead and get our screenshots for the video here, as well as saving it for our gallery. And yeah, and then we're done. So don't forget to go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you are notified when another build video or any other of the videos go live on the channel. And don't forget to let me know what you guys think so far of how all of these builds are going, and what you think of Decades, of how it's going so far. And if you think, like I said, you know, how it's going in the sense of, you know, moving forward into 1910s and 20s, which area we should put our next builds into for those, like the latter part. So we only have 2 lots left to build on, and then we're going to need to move into a new area. So let me know which area you'd like our next build to be going into. And I am going to go ahead and fly for now. Enjoy the rest of the build, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all!